If you've been on YouTube over the last few months, you'll know how aggressively Insta360 has been promoting the Ace Pro 2 as a photography camera. Recently, DJI has just released their Action 6 and they've been totally radio silent about it. I think it's time we look at both these cameras and put them up against one another and let's see which one is the better photography camera. Is it all marketing, or is there one that is clearly better than the other? When looking at these two cameras, it should be pretty obvious right away which one was designed a little bit better suited towards photography work. That, for me, is the Insta360 Ace Pro 2, and having this rear flip-up screen really can be quite useful for photographing yourself, pointing it out this way, and also doing waist level type shots as someone who shoots a lot of architecture, constantly shooting buildings from low or odd, weird angles. Not to mention that I find that the Ace Pro screen is actually much easier to use in operation. I find it's much more sensitive compared to the not very responsive screen that's on the Action 6. Okay, enough of the physical design differences between the two. Let's move on to photography.
We're going to be using these cameras within the auto settings just for now for testing out the photography features on this, because I think that's how most people will be operating these cameras. One thing that's really interesting with this Ace Pro 2 camera, it is actually quite a bit wider than the Action 6, even when you're using the linear mode. And with that linear mode, it really straightens out the verticals, which is really nice. And I find that with this Action 6, you still get skewed verticals and it causes quite a bit of distortion, even when you're on the setting that should be correcting it the most. I'd really like to see DJI add a linear setting in like there is on this Ace Pro 2. Coming from someone who is an architecture real estate photographer, this is a big thing to add into these cameras. Although you can fix it in post, I would really like to see something in camera added. Not only does the Ace Pro 2 have better warp corrections, they also have an easy to press button that is actually on the screen of the camera. And this is a screen that I'm finding much easier to press with these gloves on. And my hands are just absolutely freezing right now. So it's actually been a little bit hard for me to press the shutter on the DJI Action and the Ace Pro 2, but by having that button on the screen, that is actually quite easy to press compared to the Action. That makes using this camera a lot easier in cold sort of conditions. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're from an area like where I am, where it gets cold and your hands are freezing and aching and you want to keep it inside gloves. The Ace Pro 2 is a much better camera in that regard.
Looking at the photography features, the Ace Pro 2 has a 50 megapixel sensor within it, and then the Action 6 has a 38 megapixel one. Both have the ability as well to shoot lower megapixel files, with the Insta360 shooting at 12 megapixels and the Action 6 at 9. This is in the 4:3 setting. If we were to look at the photography modes, I find that the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 just has far more options. When looking at the Action 6 for photography, it's missing so many features, but the variable aperture mode is actually really useful. At f4, you can get really close to your subjects. At 2.8, you're at about an average aperture rating and you're not really getting all that much of a benefit. 2.6, also pretty similar. When you put on the macro lens though, that is when you can actually use f2 locked aperture on the Action 6. And with that macro lens, you get increased sharpness, clarity, contrast, although I really still think they should have given you the option to shoot at f2 if you'd like without the macro lens. If you're curious how that macro lens performs, I have probably one of the most detailed reviews of the macro lens on my channel. I'm going to put it on the video right now up at the top. Check that out after you're done watching this. Now, the Ace Pro 2 comes with different metering options. These metering options, you have the ability to use matrix metering or face priority, which is good if you want to capture yourself and you're not too worried about the background being somewhat overexposed. Well, thank you so much for sticking till the end of the video. I have links in the description for both of these cameras and also the different lenses that are available for them. I should mention as well that these both have field of view boost lenses as well if you want a wider perspective, and also the Insta360 actually just got stock back in as well for the anamorphic lens. Now, while I'm on the topic of these lenses, don't go too crazy spending too much money. I think they're far too expensive for what they are. I mean, look at this macro lens. I paid the exact same amount as this Viltrox 25mm 1.7 lens for Fuji, and this has autofocus. Anyways, that is all for today. Let me know, how do you think both these compare with one another? Would you choose the DJI for photography or the Ace Pro 2? That is all. Take care. Thank you. Bye.